Hi, and welcome to the second session of the Tips and Tricks working with PDM. My name is Henrik Jonsson, and with me I have Jens Andertoft. So this is me, Henrik Jonsson. I started SolidWorks for the first time in my life, 2005. Before that, I worked for an Autodesk dealer running Inventor and AutoCAD since 1989. So I've been in the CAD business for a while. I work with SolidWorks and PDM, and of course, with my background, I can't miss the draft site. I also love to do some Visual Basic macros to let SolidWorks do whatever you like. And I'm just over 50 years old. I have 3 grown-up kids, and I live in the beautiful city Karlstad of Sweden.
Yeah, and that's me, Jens Andertoft, the same age as Henrik. Been working with SolidWorks even longer than Henrik, since 2000. I started my first session in SolidWorks. I'm working with also Composer, the product for technical illustrations. Otherwise, me and Henrik's working pretty much the same, and I have a SolidWorks Elite application since 2019. I live in Västerås, also a beautiful city in the middle of Sweden, and in my spare time it's all about sports, both performing myself and as audience. And I will be Henrik's sidekick here today and try to answer your questions, which you are free to write down in the questions pane throughout the webinar. And please write them in English. Yesterday there were a couple in, I think, Estonian, and I couldn't understand it. So, but you feel free to write them down, and I'll try answer them along the webinar.
Thank you, Jens. So this is what's on the today's agenda. How to set default values on a search form, customize the column sets in Explorer, learn how to switch between always working with latest versions or rebuild or as rebuilt. Let's see how the default values work on the search card. And here we see a search, and we have some checkboxes in this complete search form that is delivered with PDM. You can create your own of these, and it doesn't matter if you made it on your own or if it's the complete search. You can always go in and do default settings on the search form. So by doing that, you don't have to go and do the settings over and over again for each search. So your searches can often run good 9 out of 10 times. And please stay tuned for the special search. So the content that is coming up right away is that we want to uncheck the display folders in the search form and make the search always start from the root of the vault and not from the current folder. This is something that a lot of you probably are aware of that you need to change. And we'll round up by making a search that exclude all documents not in the approved state. So I start the complete search. I just run a standard search from this one, and you can see that it's a current folder, and we get hits of a lot of documents. And changing the sort order, we see all those folders displaying on top. Let's uncheck the display folder manually and run the search again, and change the sort order. We see that no folders are displayed. So that's pretty cool to have that from starting. And let's type for some search. See which documents contain boogie or arm in the description, and there were no one. Oops, I was in the current directory. So let's change to the vault root, click OK, and run the search again. and we see we get those hits that we wanted, boogie or arm in description. We cancel that search and go into PDM administration and make some adjustments to the complete search form. And if we just click an object, we can see in the right pane the properties, and we see that we have a lot of different to select from: find folders, search folder path, and so on. And almost everything is included in this complete search form. And by clicking the background, then we reach the default values button, and we can start entering our default values. I select the find folders. I type no to not display the folders, and go further down to search folder path and just type backslash. That's okay to start from the vault root. And finally, we want to make this magic special thing to search for states, documents that is not in approved state. And to make this not, it's very common to use an exclamation mark in programming languages. So if you're not a programmer, just learn that exclamation mark is the same as no. We save this search form. I call it the PLM group. And to the right, we can select which one is able to see and use this form. We can do it for users or groups, and we can select for preferred. So go back into the PDM system, and on the search button, I now have this PLM group search. And when this comes up, we see that look in is from the root by default, and the display folders is not checked. And I can enter this text search again, and we see that this is a really quick way of searching stuff. And workflow, we see we have documents not in approved state. So we run this, and let's see in the state column, we have only draft and vaulted. No approved documents are showing there. So that's a pretty smooth way of making those default values in the search. Conclusion: don't make the same settings over and over again. Those few times that you want to include folders in your search, just tick it. Make some magic with the right know-how in search forms. And here comes another poll. Are you ready, Jens?
I'm ready. Let's see if the audience is ready to answer this quick question about your job function. It's always nice to see what kind of people is attending the webinar. Yesterday we had a question about the industry. Now it's of your actual job function. And I think the answers have stopped coming in. So let's see. And I think it's quite as expected that most of you are from the engineering. But also nice to see that we have some other from some other departments here. So, yeah, I think all of you will have great advantage of this tips. So let's go on to the next one, Henrik.
Sure. And that is working with the columns in Windows Explorer. So PDM have its own columns. You're all aware of that. And let's see how you can create your own column set. Learn how to customize the layout, design column sets even for the search result, and see that there is a customizable column for a quick search as well. Use layouts that suits your needs the best. You design these with a classic what you see is what you get user interface. Find that switching columns is very easy. So we see that we have different columns, and I can right-click the heading and select column sets and change to the column set I want. We have a revision, we have a file name, go into the components folder, and we see that we can move around these as you like. And how these columns are displayed is stored in the Windows registry of the current Windows user. So you will have this the next time you start Explorer. And doing a quick search, I used the history, and then we see that we have other columns than we had before. And these are also possible to move around, change the size, and this is stored in another place in the Windows registry. So you will have these come up same next time. In contents, we also have columns, and you can change these in the same way as we could in the Explorer and search. So how do we do our own column sets? So in the PDM administration, below columns, we have those different ones, and I right click and select new to create a new column list for the Windows Explorer. And this is what I mentioned as what you see is what you get user interface. So I put a name on it, I add a column, and I select what variable I want to show in this column. Just keep going on as many as I like, but there is a maximum of 5 variables in one list, but you can still have more than one list if you love to. I think it could be kind of busy to move around with them. In this, what you see is what you get. Change size of a column, and it will update the width column in the columns part of this view. I can move these around, move them to top, and then move them one step down. And if you do a lot of these, I'm sure you will soon be pretty quick to handle these. And we see that revision, maybe that is a bit too long, so cut it off. It's okay with just rev. And we have that 47 width that we see up there. And yeah, when you're happy with this first show up of the column set, go on and select who's gonna be able to use this. And as usual, it's always better to make the settings for groups rather than users. Click OK. This is stored, and it's ready to use right away. You don't need to log out or log in, or you just right click and you will find the new column set in the pull down menu. And as you can see, we have our columns approved by, description. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that one. And for the quick search, I want to add another column just to see the difference. Select a variable. You can see that this is pretty simple to learn and use. I put it on top and move it a couple of steps down, so I get it where I think is the place where most users want to see this, just below document number. And I can also change the caption of the column for document number. Okay, so make another search. And since I have this stored in the registry already, I actually need to pull this aside. But if the first time you use it, then it will show up as it was in the PDM administration. You can see that it has a column also for where the file is found. And the conclusion of what I just showed you, With well-designed column sets, it's easy to find the information you need without getting information overloaded. And we have another pull.
Yes, we have the last one to see if those tips that you've shown is going to make your everyday work better. And it looks good from the answers coming in here that most of you are going to use those tips. And even though we haven't shown the third one, it looks good. There are still some votes coming in. So I'll stop it there and show you the result. So I think that's pretty good since we only have 2 tips shown, and I think the third one will also be a good one. So if we had asked the question after that, I think the red bar would be even longer here. So yeah, that was the last poll for today. So back to you, Henrik, for the third tip of the day.
Thank you, Jens. So, do you want to see the latest version of your documents or as they were built? Learn how to switch in between. Now you will learn how to open an assembly or a drawing with the referenced models versions. On your command, you can have the PDM archive server to hand over the versions of the document that was valid when the parent file was checked in. When you need to continue your developing work and want to use the latest versions, you can very easy click that Get Latest Version button in top right. In settings for either a specific user or a group, you can unlock the possibility to load the referenced versions. SOLIDWORKS will often open the files that you have in your local cache. Then it is you who is the commander in charge what to have in the local cache. So first I select the top assembly and go on Get Latest Version, and we see that in its top right corner I can select Latest Version, and we have a column in this dialog box showing local version and version from the archive server. And in this case, all are the same, as you can see here, and thereby the Get button is grayed out. There's nothing to change. So in the PDM archive, PDM administration, we can see that for my user, I can deselect always work with latest version, and this will unlock the possibility to actually get the as built versions. So selecting the assembly, and I will show this in Explorer first. So by selecting the assembly in the Explorer, I come directly to that specific document. I have the Get Latest Version documents in Explorer as in the add-in in SOLIDWORKS. In this case, I select the reference documents, and then we see that we have 5 documents that actually were in other versions than they are at the moment in the PDM system. So I press Get, and it will tell me that, okay, some documents were exclusively opened in another application and could thereby not be switched out in the local cache. Let's see how that looks in SOLIDWORKS. And if we press the Get Latest Version, we see in this list that there is actually different documents. One drawing was able to switch out, but the 4 other documents were not able to switch out to an older version, and the drawing wasn't open in SOLIDWORKS. That's why it could be easily switched out by the PDM system. And in SolidWorks, though, I could get the reference, and it can handle the switch out of the versions. So this can be done here, and I open a sub-assembly and see in the tree of the PDM add-in that there are red marked documents, and like this 101 part, it's marked in red because it's version 6 out of 17. So this is a good warning for me that this one is not the latest version. And so what happens if I try to check this out and make changes? Yeah, that is not possible. SolidWorks PDM takes care of such mistakes. So if you select checkout, it will always pull up the latest version to your local cache, and you make the changes there. So a short conclusion of this one: SolidWorks PDM knows exactly which version of a reference document that was valid at the check-in of the parent document, and the parent document could be an assembly or a drawing. Since you are in charge of getting the files from the server, when you uncheck this always work with latest versions, it's up to you what to open in SolidWorks, so you have control. Opening documents as built gives you great feedback of all documents not in the latest version. As you saw this in red, you have this in the picture to the left on the screen. And that's all for today. And to sum it up, let's go through a short list of today's content of this webinar. Don't change the same settings over and over again searching for files. Correct default settings in your search form can make you hit right 9 out of 10 searches. With know-how about search criteria, you are able to make really advanced searches. You can see how to create column sets. By customizing the layout of these column sets to meet your needs, it will be a lot easier for you to sort the information on the screen. Search results also have column sets, as you saw, and quick search has its own set. Now that you know how to set the PDM up to load referenced documents versions and receive as built behavior from that, you can get the latest versions of files whenever you like. And before we getting started with the Q&A, I'd like to mention our upcoming webinars. If you're a colleague or interested in Simula or CATIA, you're currently working with simulation, or then keep your eye up for these upcoming webinars. More information can be found on our website, plmgroup.eu, under resources and events and webinars. So have a great day. Thank you all for joining in, and stay tuned for next webinar coming up.
Thank you. Bye.